When Kendrick Lamar recently collaborated with Playboi Carti on his new project, I Am Music or Music, whatever you want to call it, um, there was a lot of noise. I made some videos as well on other platforms, and I said, okay, this is how I see it. And I think I tried to simplify it as best as possible, but I think I finally figured it out. People were using the word hypocrisy, and I don't think they were wrong. In fact, I just said, I'm not going to choose to use that word. And at that moment, I couldn't tell you why. But I think I know why. I think I know exactly why the word hypocrisy alone wasn't enough, right? And I think I have a better understanding of what is happening when Kendrick Lamar chooses to, sort of collaborate with a Kodak Black or collaborate with a Playboi Carti. Meanwhile, knowing their history, he can, turn around and say what he said to Drake during their battle, or maybe get on stage and say God speaks for women's rights, etc. I think I have a good understanding. And I want to give out a shout out here to Sean C, because as I was listening to him today in a post from the OVO community in which they felt vindicated, right? Like even Sean C is calling it out. It hit me this morning. I'm going to play a little bit of that clip so you guys can kind of see what I heard and how I got to my conclusion, right?
Now, they might not have got your man's on sex assault charges, but they got him on charges. The exact type, I don't know, but they got him on charges.
One of Kendrick's core critiques against Drake, those predators move in flocks, emphasizing how your association with these people would liken you to them or make you more susceptible to the things that they do behind closed doors as well. But now the application of that logic doesn't apply to Kendrick Lamar in any capacity. In any association he has with an abuser, his fans are automatically assuming it's some recreational growth program that he's conducting for every person that's troubled. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not someone who believes.
Okay, cool. That's all I need to hear. You can go watch on C's full clip. But so words mean things, right? So I here's the definition of hypocrisy: the practice of claiming to have moral standards of belief to which one's own behavior does not conform, right? So for me, the struggle I was having with the word hypocrisy being thrown around was that Kendrick Lamar may have said whatever he said about Drake, but being a hypocrite would mean is if he was doing the exact same thing. So, the idea of, sort of what Drake's history might be with colonizing the music, or, his relationship with women, it would have to be an apples to apples. But I totally understand if for you that's not how you see it. If you want to say things like Sean C just said, like, okay, well, you said the predators move in flocks. Well, when you're around these guys, are you not moving? I totally understand it. But the word or the term that I think best explains this, which I think hypocrisy is a part of, is selective outrage. What Kendrick Lamar is doing is showing selective outrage. To be able to really understand this and to be able to really take it for what it is, you would have to, one, see him as human and understand that he can be flawed. Two, be able to sort of understand that he may not even be aware of this outrage that he's displaying. Now, I know that's hard to do because he's one of the greatest artists ever. He puts a lot of thinking into his creativity process. I get it. But this is kind of sort of what the commentary space is meant to do, because sometimes some people can be too close to the forest to see the trees. And that includes Kendrick Lamar himself, and that includes his die-hard fans, right? So for me, I look at the definition of selective outrage, and it refers to the expressing anger and indignation only towards certain actions or situations, while ignoring or downplaying similar or even worse offenses, often demonstrating hypocrisy, remember I said it's within it, or a lack of consistency in moral judgment. So for me, I think there are two reasons why Kendrick Lamar is displaying selective outrage. Number one, I think I've been consistent in this take on other platforms, and that is, it was a battle. That is the easiest one. I think that's the easiest one that we all can come to the conclusion of, meaning I'm battling this guy. I'm going to act as though I'm outraged by his behavior to occupy the moral high ground in order to win this battle in the eyes of the public, because I know he's going to take it somewhere and say that I've committed DV. I'm going to take it further. I'm going to take it worse, right? If you take it there, I'm taking it further. It's something you don't want to do. So I can look like I'm, purer than this kid. The second one is the one that was kind of like mind blowing. I had to say to myself, this would require true sort of that being close to the forest to see the trees. And this is just my opinion. And the other one is, I believe that Kendrick Lamar has selective outrage with the behavior of a Kodak Black or a Playboi Carti, because he thinks these people are of his cloth. Okay, so the act of the chances of redemption, the understanding as to why they may have displaying their behaviors they're displaying, he thinks he has that. He thinks there's hope for them. He thinks he can get through it. He thinks there's value in cultivating the relationship with them, right? And it was really simple how I came to this conclusion. I just listened to Not Like Us over and over and over again, right? And I just looked over at the comments on my TikTok page over and over and over again, and which is this idea, and we all display this. You may not display this probably from a community standpoint. You may display it from from your family standpoint, right? You may have a cousin who does something that you just don't like. That sort of familiarity to your cousin, the family bond with your cousin, makes you think he's still redeemable. It makes you think you're selective about your outrage. You may not like it. You may give him some game about it and say, hey, bro, you probably shouldn't do that. I just keep working on it, right? You have more sympathy and empathy. In fact, you have more empathy rather than sympathy for someone that's your cousin, right? For someone that's a best friend of X amount of years. He is like you. You see yourself in him, even though you think he might be better. The reality is, and that's why that Carti's my evil twin line makes a lot more sense. The reality is, we have to just understand, you may see it this way, but I think Kendrick a long time ago, before he even released the song, came to a conclusion that Drake is not like him. Now, I am not saying this as an excuse. I am not approving of this behavior. Selective outrage is not a good thing. But while we were all clamoring, trying to figure out what is going on here, okay, this is a piece that I think a lot of people did not hone in on, did not double down on, okay? And just him seeing Drake as someone that is not like him, he thinks this kid is above being vixen. This kid, he's beyond it. I'm sorry. He's beyond being vixen. He was not cut from this cloth. He's nothing like us. He is doing this not because he grew up in a certain environment that caused him to be this type of person. Not because of the things that I know from the 80s and 90s that may have affected our neighborhoods to turn us into these type of people in the inner cities as a Black American kid. I truly believe Kendrick Lamar subconsciously, and that's the very important part sometimes when we talk about people's behavior, subconsciously doesn't understand why Drake may display certain behaviors that even his homies from Compton would display, right? And he also thinks, well, if you grew up, you had all the chances possible, right? From all I know, and I'm just speaking as Kendrick here, you grew up in maybe a middle-class neighborhood in Toronto. You have no business now running, that type of thing. Why you hang around with these guys? Baka's got to wear a case, and a lot of it comes off a bit of, it's kind of like a God complex too, because you don't get to make decisions about everybody's life and their experiences. Sure, it might be possible that Drake, for a large part, grew up in a sort of decent environment. I don't think it was the greatest, but in a decent environment for what I know about, the whole Western Road Forest area that he grew up in, right? Actually, let me get that right. Let me make sure I get that right, right? I remember his mother moved them, Western Road and Forest Hill, right? So he grew up first in the Western Road area, and then he moved later to a more affluent area in Forest Hill, right? So I'm sure the Canadians know all about that, and people from Toronto know all about that area. So you can speak to that in the comments. But that does not make a good thing, because you don't know people's experiences. So that is what I think is happening here. It's really more selective outrage, and we all are susceptible to it. First, when there's conflict, remember I told you have a cousin, you might not be outraged at the behavior he's displaying, but you get into an argument with someone else, the same exact thing that your cousin displays, but it's a point of insult to win that argument, you will use that, right? That's number one. And number two, you have less empathy for someone that you don't think is like you, for someone who you think their behavior should have never got to this point. It's being a bit ignorant, right? It's a mix of ignorant and it's a mix of anger. And you combine the two, you get there. I do want to say that I don't think Kendrick got there alone. Obviously, Kendrick may not display the same behavior with you or me. So he doesn't have a problem with you or me, right? He may be able to see more clearly with you or me, right? But what if he starts having conversations with me and he understands where I grew up from and I'm displaying certain behavior and he is comparing that to Kodak Black? It doesn't make sense. Okay, so I hope this HQ theory makes sense to all of you because it does to me. But that is the new term that I'm going to be using. That is my new narrative. Is Kendrick displays selective outrage. And hypocrisy is part of it. You can keep using the word hypocrisy if you prefer, but for me, it's selective outrage.